Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody here who sponsors us at Patreon. The Prepared Mind, this idea to do a channel, to talk about something this important, I never thought would be taken seriously. But it is an incredibly serious subject. And it's so serious, it's driven me nuts today that I think I deserve this triple rum and coke. Yes, indeed, I deserve that triple rum and coke. So what happened today? Today I want to talk a little bit about some of the professional things I have to deal with and how when shit hits the fan, if you don't have it together, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So let's talk about a little bit about what happened in my professional life. I have to do it without bringing out specifics and getting people in trouble, namely myself. This concept of decision making, or the inability to make a decision, or making bad decisions. Just the very basic concept. I don't want to get into too much micro examination of different scenarios and decisions and which decisions work and don't. Largely because I want people to make decisions based on their region, their geography, their socioeconomic conditions, the type of shit it's the fan it is, how well they're prepped, etc., etc., etc. But just talking about decisions is critical. So I want to ask you this. Have you in your life experienced, either professionally or personally, dealing with someone who can't make a decision? I do all the time in my personal and professional life. The reason I have to deal with it all the time, the inability to make a decision, is because I work with and deal with a lot of people on the professional level and then on the personal level and an intermingling of that. So when people go, John, geez, you know, the people that know me, you're kind of an introvert. You're always at your house. What do you do for your personal life? Well, I don't have one. I want to get away from people. And one of the reasons is because of the concept of decisions. People that don't make decisions well are, you know, and it's nothing against them personally. I know it's psychologically based. It doesn't mean they're stupid. It really doesn't. It doesn't mean they're ignorant, they're not retarded. They just can't make a decision. Unfortunately, they've got one of those or two of those or three of those or more. There's several personality types out of the 16 Myers-Briggs types that aren't good at making decisions. And then that decision-making ability of theirs, it's compounded, or their unwillingness to do it because of the experience they've had in life. Their experiences have convinced them, I don't want to make a decision. Why is that bad for shit hitting the fan? The reason is we're not asking someone, hey, do you want to be buddies? You're not asking a girl, do you want to go out on Friday night? You're not saying, hey, what should we do? Should we go shooting or should we go fishing? Right? It's not the type of question, shit hits the fan isn't, that you can go, nah, I don't care, it doesn't matter. When shit hits the fan, every decision will matter. Every decision's going to matter. Because you're talking about food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine. Those items, when shit hits the fan, that's your bottom layer of the Maslowian hierarchy. You have to maintain those, including self-defense. If you don't have a secure setup when shit hits the fan, if you don't make a decision about what to do, it's going to cost people lives. Period. There's no two ways about it, no ifs, ands, or buts. Unless you live in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. And I have a funny feeling that even Mr. Rogers is going to batten down the hatches. He's going to button that top button up. He's going to blouse his boots. He's going to lock and load. But you've got to have decisions on everything. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You've got to have those battened down. You've got to have decisions. You can't say, I don't know. Those are not words that can become part of a prepper's vocabulary. Now, for the most part, people that are preppers, you and me, we look around and we go, oh shit, I see what's happening. We need to get prepared. You just made a decision. You made an observation and a decision. And when you saw that, you made a decision, you've already demonstrated you have the ability to make a decision. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be these indecisive types, non-decision makers in your group, in your community. Oftentimes, in an emergency situation, inaction results in injury or death or loss of opportunity, loss of income, loss of profit, loss. Whatever it is that's on the line, at stake, is the loss. When shit hits the fan, what we have on the line is our lives and the lives of those around us. What we cannot have is indecision. In some cases, it's really going to be less consequential. Should we put the tomatoes out tomorrow or the next day? You still need a decision, but it's not a massively important one. Unless you suspect it's going to snow tomorrow, then you may want to put it off. Still, you have to make a decision. People that are indecisive, for whatever reason, I'm not making fun of them. Well, maybe I will a little bit. The inability to make a decision is rough, right? So my recommendation is, and I will make a recommendation, if you have those people in your group, take that decision-making authority away from them. Take that pressure off of them. Do not ask them even to make a decision. Maybe they want to participate in some of the talk, but don't let them have a vote, because their vote, if they are indecisive, and if you've got some sort of democracy in your group, it's not going to benefit from indecisiveness. Again, in my opinion, when there's an emergency going on, you have to have decision making. You have to have experience to back it. You have to have competency, and you have to have valued and respected leadership. When Marines go out into combat, your sergeant better know his shit. And his men better have faith and belief in him that he knows what the fuck he's talking about. That he has the experience. That he has the knowledge. That he has the skill. These are critical to the survival of the group, and they're critical to the psychological foundation. And I know I harp on psychology a lot. Too fucking bad. It's a huge part of the equation. It has to be. Right? I am not going to follow anybody into a dangerous situation if they don't know what they're talking about. And I'm not just talking about confidence, but an appearance of, a knowledgeable base, a clear vision of the mission. And I don't just mean combat. It could be the food mission. It could be the let's get some water mission. Right? When shit hits the fan, we're going to have to, we're back down. Literally. We're back down to the basics. That Maslowian bottom pyramid. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine. Means of self-defense. Even getting water, as we've talked about in many videos, is a dangerous prospect. If you don't have a private basin or cistern, spring or creek, or some sort of holding facility like a swimming pool, if you don't have that very local and very close, you're going to have to go out and venture out to get water. Even getting water is life and death. You know, I talked about the watering hole in Africa, right? Elephants, zebras, gazelles, All of these animals require water, but who waits at the watering hole? Right? Crocodiles, lions, hyenas, tigers, because they need water and they need meat. So we've got to have good decision making. Number one, you have to have the ability to make a decision. Number two, they have to be good decisions. So, by the way, that triple rum and coke is very nice. So, as we talk about the ability to make a decision, we need to take the pressure off of those who can't decide, who don't want to decide, right? If you force someone who can't make a decision, force them to participate in the process, one, they're going to be uncomfortable, they're going to bring uncertainty, and they're going to vote or think the way someone in the group wants them to. Again, I see this professionally all the time. Right? It's a problem professionally. It results in negative consequences. At work, a little bad decision. It causes some hiccups, some problems, but you get through it. When shit hits the fan, you're really dealing with sometimes life and death, other times quality of life. Again, we're going from this area up here where we're working professionally, and we're coming down to this very primordial caveman level of comfort, speed, ease of life. You're just dealing with getting through the day-to-days, right? You've got to worry about security first. If you're dead, you're not alive. After that, you got to deal with food and water, right? From day to day, you need food and water. You can't make it too many days without proper clothing and shelter. And you can't make it very long at all if medication's required. So that's why I have food, water, medication, clothing, shelter, means of self-defense. But self-defense really comes into number one. If you've got people attacking you because your decisions that are being made about a defensive perimeter, how to deal with the threats, if those decisions aren't being made, you're not going to have to worry about dying of dehydration or starving to death. You're going to be perforated, right? You're going to be Swiss. You're going to have little holes in you.
Playtime is over. Get your Prepared Mind merchandise to show your support for the channel, stop censorship, and to tell YouTube they can smoke it. Get prepared now.
So, please, when we think about decision making, people that don't want to make decisions, make it easy on them. Don't let them. Now, let's move up to the next rung. People who think they're qualified to make a decision because they have a vote. I have to say this, and this is my opinion. You guys can think how you want. You can make decisions with your group based on what you want. Just because you're a human being breathing oxygen doesn't make you qualified to vote. Right? Now, as far as I'm concerned, with the group of people that I'm associated with, we all have our levels of experience. We all have our areas of expertise. We all have a knowledge base, and we have an understanding of who knows what. It's a little loose now. When shit hits the fan, everybody figures the shit out real quick. Who is who knows what is where, etc. So, just because you have a voice and a hand doesn't mean you get to vote. And I know that sounds cruel, it sounds sexist, it sounds like a lot of things that people would call negative. It's anti-democratic. Well, I'm sorry, this is martial law, this is shit hits the fan, this is what the fuck is going on. It comes down to experience is what I'm talking about. To make a decision or an inability, right, let's help those people out. But we're talking about making decisions that are literally either life and death or bordering on life and death, right? Affecting quality of life in a life and death world. It's quality of life, ease of life, comfort of life in an encompassing shit hits the fan environment. Death, right? It's shit. So, I'm going to just throw an example out there. Let's assume that my man who's got sons, also like me, shows up and shit hits the fan. Shit goes bad. I say, hey, dude, get up here. It's 80 miles. We're going to get set, right? And he shows up with let's just say he shows up with a girlfriend. He's a younger fellow than me, extremely handsome, so I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't get a girlfriend and bring her with. Anyways, just because she's got a voice doesn't mean she gets a vote. Right? Some of us have military experience. Some of us have police experience. Some of us have combat experience. There's all of these people. Some of us have very good woodscraft, survival, hunting experience. We've got a mix of that. But just because someone has a vote, right? Not the person who doesn't want to vote, doesn't have an opinion, can't make a decision, but someone who's very willing to make a decision but doesn't know shit. What do you do with that person? It's a legitimate question. How do you talk to them? How do you deal with them? Especially, right, if they're not really up on what's going on in the world and how this system works. In a lot of cases, and I know this sounds horrifying and I'm just going to have to take a bunch of shit, there's a lot of women that don't want to participate in this concept of prepping and planning. There are also a ton of women on here that are preppers, and they're the ones leading their families while their husband's like, I like NASCAR, I like football and baseball, right? And he's not paying any attention. There's women preppers as well that don't have a participating husband. But I think the numbers, based on 9-to-1 on this channel, 9 men to 1 woman preppers. So it's 9 prepper husbands to 1 prepper wife that are participating in this. So there's going to be a lot more women that aren't interested in this than men who aren't interested in this. But in both cases, right, I don't want to hear from a guy who doesn't know shit about prepping that he has a vote just because he's a guy. Right? Additionally, if his wife is a prepper, right? His wife is a prepper and he doesn't want to participate, what does that tell me about his thinking? So if you've got anyone in this group, just because he's a guy, just because he got a pair of testicles, doesn't make him qualified if he hasn't spent the time prepping, researching, if he doesn't have the experience, knowledge, right? If he doesn't have those things, do you want him to have a vote? Do you want him participating in the decision-making process? I have to tell you that there are a ton of people that want to make decisions. I'm dropping back now to both my professional and my personal life. People that want to make decisions, they want to vote, they want to be the boss, but they don't have the knowledge, the experience, the preparatory processes mentally to deal with what's coming. As a result, letting those people participate in such a way that they influence an outcome, what does that do to the odds of success, mission success, chores success? It brings the odds down. Now, the last thing I want to do is take a member of the group and castrate them. Right? Take away their vote. And say, hey, look, you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. You couldn't find your ass with your hands in your back pockets. I don't want to have to do that with somebody. I wouldn't. I hope you don't want to. Right? It's not this I know you don't, you're stupid, so shut up kind of game. Once again, we're talking about shit hitting the fan. We're talking about death and life decisions. This decision-making process, the reason I'm harping on it for this video, is today I spent a lot of time dealing with people who either don't want to make decisions or don't have the experience to make decisions. I also work with some extremely competent people who have the experience, knowledge, background, right? The decision-making process to them is second nature. It's like taking a leak, right? You just do it. Doesn't take any thinking. You just make those decisions. Those are the types of people you want in a leadership position or in a leadership group. So one of the chores, the tasks that I want to present to you is how are you going to deal with somebody in your group if they can't make a decision? Think about it now. whether it's your wife or whether it's your husband, right? Whether it's the husband or wife of someone else in the group. The part of your planning not only has to deal with what's out there, what's on the other side of your front door, what's in your 10-mile radius, your new world, which is as far as you can travel in one day. How are you going to deal not just with that shit out there, but with people in your group? Remember, you've got to deal with interfamily dynamics, multiple family dynamics, personalities. And then I don't want to use the word personality defects or flaws because I think that's an inaccurate statement. Maybe I would use the terminology unprepared personalities. There's personality types and personalities, that is human beings, who aren't prepared. They're going to be scared. They're going to be concerned. They're going to have a lot of fear. There's going to be a lot of paranoia, uncertainty, anger, frustration, and they may or may not want to, at different times and for different reasons, want to participate in what's going on. So the question I have is, how are you going to deal with that? You know, one of my shortcomings is patience. I know that I can be an impatient person, especially in an emergency situation. An emergency situation, in my opinion, whoever is most knowledgeable or team of most knowledgeable, sit down, assess it, come up with an answer, make a decision, and fucking do it. There's no questioning. There's no second guessing. There's following orders. There's getting the project done, accomplishing the mission. For some people, they don't like that process. Right? They don't like it. Some people, because of their personality, their experience, their upbringing, they don't like being held on a tight schedule. They don't like that. If I say, look, you've got 1 fucking hour to accomplish this task, right? I'm not being mean. I'm not trying to hurt them. But this is not a fucking game. Once again, we're talking about shit hitting the fan. Making decisions. Who shouldn't even be close to being involved? Who should have limited involvement? How you're going to deal with those people. Because they are, once again, they're humans. They're loved ones. They're part of the group. They're part of the community. How are you going to deal with them? Are you going to be really heavy-handed? Are you going to have time? And this is a question. It's very important. Will you have the time to use kid gloves? Put that nice soft velvet glove on, right? And give them some soft velvet glove love. Will you have time for that? Maybe yes, maybe no. If you have time, do you have the energy? If you don't have time, do you have the fortitude, right, to rip that glove off, iron fist, and just bop someone on the head and say, fucking do it? We'll talk about the problem later. Do you have that leadership experience to discern between when and where to apply velvet glovety-lovety or iron fist, get it fucking done, right? That comes down to experience. Unfortunately, not all of us have it. Not all of us are practiced at it. Not all of us have a good knowledge base and understanding. Unfortunately, that's just the way of the world. So for all of us, me, you, everybody, we all have this experience issue. There's, for example, I know of a group in Las Vegas. It's mostly to all military. It's strongly hierarchical. And from here on out, I'm going to assume everything about that group. Knowing those things about it, it's going to be well disciplined, well organized. It's going to be extremely efficient, and it's going to be mission and task oriented. That would be the rum dogging. Those guys, I'd join that fucking group in a minute. But I'm up here in Northern California, and they're way down there in Southern Nevada. But there's a lot of groups like that. Other groups are going to be more average Joes. They're going to be a little looser. You know, so they're going to have other challenges. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But it comes down to decisions. It's decisions about what's out there. And it's decisions about what's going on in your group. So if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you're planning ahead of time and you're going to participate as a group decision maker, or you are the group decision maker. It's just an important, it's not just an exercise. I want to get past that concept of, we do a lot of things as practice, as exercise, as thinking, but this is where the fucking rubber meets the road. When the shit does hit the fan, we get down to decision making. Right? And maybe somebody who prior to shit hitting the fan, they're a little softer, but when shit hits the fan, they're going to become very insistent. Right? A lot of times that person is going to be insistent for a reason. Sometimes it'll be because they're afraid. They're scared. They're concerned. We are all going to have to deal with those dynamics. But it is one of the most critical dynamics, period. Period. Right? When a military unit has a mission, the decision about what that mission is, that was one thing. The decision about how it's executed in the field, taking in all of the components, all of the variables, right? That's another thing. And then to bring in the interpersonal human psychological dimension. Right? It's easy to say, oh yeah, we're just going to go kick some ass. It's right. That's talk about a summation, right? And brevity. It's a lot more complicated than that. You've got to decide what the mission is, who's going to do it, how they're going to do it, and then within the people of who's going to do it, they've got to work with each other and their personalities and their skill levels and everything working together. I don't want to make things sound too complicated. But when you start breaking down the individual components and how human activity works, it is an incredibly complex, social, knowledgeable, professional, spiritual. Everything comes into play. So having this decision, this concept of decision making, it is critical. And I want to thank you guys for putting up with this presentation. I hope you found it as interesting and fascinating a subject as I do. And I really do find this shit fascinating. The reason is, as a leader professionally, I find these dynamics fascinating and interesting to learn, both from failures to success. And seeing and studying the interplay between human beings who can't make a decision, who shouldn't make a decision, and those that are good at making decisions, and how they cooperate and work with everybody else and bring everything together. It's quite a bit of fun on the professional side, but when shit hits the fan, once again, the rubber meets the road, and it can come down to life-saving decisions. And once again, for those people that can't make a decision, you have to do it quickly. You have to do it timely. You have to make decisions in the most effective manner because, right, a lot of things are going to be time sensitive, time specific. You've got to go get water, be back by sundown because you have a security perimeter you need to set. That type of shit, right? You can't say, just go ahead and mosey on down there, get back whenever you fucking feel like it. Stop off at someone's house and see how they're doing, would you? You probably won't have that sort of latitude. So, well, how about that? Dinner's ready. I wish for you guys to have a good day. Keep an eye on Syria, Israel, and Iran. I wonder what's going to happen with all of that shit. Right? Our world right now, we are poised on the edge of international stupidity, greed, corruption, and conflict. I don't gleefully say we're heading into shit it's the fan, but we're heading into shit it's the fan. It's coming. Get ready. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. I'll talk to you guys soon.